Please, special meeting of the Borough of Spring Lake Heights. Special meeting of March 7th, 2011. Would you stand please for a moment of silent reflection and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Enright,
Here.
Mr. Brennan, Ms. Cynthia,
Here.
Mr. Diver,
Here.
Ms. King,
Here.
Mr. Mechanico,
Here.
Mr. Borbeck.
Here.
This meeting is called pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law. Notice of this meeting was included in a list of meetings sent to the Co-Star and the Asbury Park Press, posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building and on the borough website. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? May I have a roll call?
Ms. Cynthia,
Yes.
Mr. Diver,
Yes.
Ms. King,
Yes.
Mr. Mechanico,
Yes.
Mr. Borbeck.
Yes.
Okay, discussion items, the 2011 utility and current fund budgets, and I'd like to turn this over to our financial chair, Ms. Cynthia.
Okay. Well, everybody received the financial information that Colleen sent home. The budget. Right now, currently as it stands, we've got a shortfall of approximately $174,000. The, right now, tax rate for the average home would go up around $72.25, and that's all within, we're all within the cap, right?
Yes.
So, we have to find more money, $174,715, which is down substantially from what we started off at. What did we start off at? 290.
270, somewhere around there.
And I was able to find around, or we were able to find around $89,000 that we could cut. Our expenses overall have gone down dramatically, but the problem is our revenues have gone down much more substantially than our expenses. So while our appropriations are down almost $90,000, our revenues have decreased around $270,000. Does anybody have any questions? First, I'd like to make sure that if anybody has any questions for either Chief Petrikin or Superintendent Herner, that we get that out of the way so that they can get back home, stop it, as far as their budgets are concerned.
I have just a question on the police budget. In terms of overtime, between 2010 and what occurred in 2009 and what occurred in 2011? Did overtime go down in 2010?
In 2010, after the hiring of the last two employees, it did take a significant drop.
Significant, basically because of the new hire.
40%, 50%?
We were budgeting around $200,000 in 2009. Originally, I believe Chief Skeets wanted $200,000, and then that we changed that to I can't remember, maybe 100. Do you remember, Colin? Around 100 or 125.
I want to say 125.
And then this year we budgeted $60,000, but we were 18,000 over. So we said around 78, 79, I should say this year, 2020. But even though we hired the two new hires in March, they didn't get on their own until end of May. So we were looking at 7 months where the overtime for the police was down substantially. So the first quarter was pretty high. We had $30,000 just the first quarter in 2010 of police overtime. So, I mean, we might be able to take down police overtime somewhat, but I'd rather keep it that way because what we have is.
What are we budgeting for here?
60.
60.
And Chief Pepperton said, how many, 4 hours, and only 4 hours of overtime last pay period?
Yes, we had 4 hours for this last 2 week pay period.
Yeah, and also on the printout, you'll see how much overtime we paid through 2010, 2011, and it is significant. It's 8,059, but that was because we had almost 50 hours worth of overtime because of the snowstorm. So that wasn't normal.
Excuse me, Mayor. Mayor, can we acknowledge that Councilman Brennan has arrived at
Oh, okay.
6:38? Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Councilman Brennan?
Okay, Councilman Brennan arrived at 6:38. Tom?
He's here.
Yeah, a couple questions. I've heard in the past that we would need a police vehicle.
Yes.
And this is kind of a dual question already too. And we do need apparently 2 large garbage trucks, right?
Need, there's a whole list of equipment.
There's two garbage trucks, Cushmans or whatever you call them these days, and a few other items. And I've heard estimates on the order of going up to $1.5 million, right?
No.
What
I think
was
maximum,
They're 225 each.
my entire lift was 685, that's my
Yeah.
entire wish list.
685 plus,
Plus whatever the police vehicle is.
what's the police vehicle?
Probably running up, maybe 34, 35, something like
Yeah,
that.
all, with everything included.
Yeah, probably a little bit more than 35.
That's state contract, I don't know, whatever.
And that's capital money.
That would be
That would be capital money, Tom.
The plan last year with the bond, and
You also need Cushman. Do you need a Cushman too?
yeah, well, we start out with the 2 garbage trucks. We got the roll-off because of their conversion to dumpsters for the recycling center. A mega hauler, the new one, replacement, a pickup truck, and a loader for the snow this year, and our backhoe is 18 years old. So my wish list, and we have all the reasons what it's replacing, everything else, whenever, I don't know if tonight's tonight, but we can talk about it.
But that number is 685.
Yeah.
And you're talking about 30 grand, so that's over $700,000, 715 to.
750, I would go for
But that's
750.
capital money. We're not dealing with that tonight, are we?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it,
If we bond, it's not in this budget. It's in the
But-
next, if we bond this year,
I guess my point is if we have to bond, we will eventually have to pay principal and interest back.
Right,
And that will come into a budget, correct?
next year.
next year.
It
Next
doesn't
year.
affect this year's budget.
All right.
To bond this year, it does not affect this year's budget. It will affect next year's budget.
All right, and I have a question
Except
for
for-
Colleen.
Except to the extent that adding debt to our debt portfolio, which is presently largely being paid back in principal, in interest only, and we're scheduled to have to move over to bonding a substantial amount of that, we keep putting off. And I have a major problem with, and I'm not saying it's just this council, I think it was the historic practice of the predecessor council, but we've been putting off retiring our debt and we're accumulating debt.
Well, our debt's going down, our debt's actually substantially down, and we can keep that debt the same to offset next year. I mean, we'll just give it surplus for this year, but.
Where's the
How
current
do we
debt?
keep- how do we keep it the same if we're gonna increase our debt?
Our debt is not
Our
going
debt-
down. If you look at our debt. over the
Excuse
last-
me, John, Patty speaking.
Our debt is going down, we lost a bond this year.
I understood that.
So our debt this year is going down, then next year, we will have an increased payment also. There's also a balloon payment that I believe was water.
On the
Water
utility,
meters, the
right, on the
payment.
utility debt.
That's going to be another problem in 2013 that we have to worry about. But right now, the if we bond this year, it doesn't affect this year's budget. Do we have to worry about it next year in our surpluses? Yes. We have to find a way to raise the revenues.
Colleen, so when we go to, we're paying some amount of money, some loans that were just interest only.
Those are on the short-term amounts that are currently outstanding. It's debt that the borough has already taken on, that we either have to convert to long-term debt in the form of a bond, or we have to, I believe I wrote in here, I think in next year's budget, we would have to start making significant principal payments on the short-term debt.
All right, so that's going to increase by a pretty significant number, no?
Well, it would depend on what we end up doing. If we go out for a bond, that would give you a more, if you took on things that you wanted to this year, if you converted your short-term debt, I'm just going for the whole McGill.
Right.
You could go out for a bond which would level out what your debt payment is, but it's gonna kick it out longer. Where if you take your short-term debt on, you have to start making principal payments in your third year, and it has to be paid off by your 10th year, no matter what the life of the project was. So one way or the other, you'd have to do it. Bond just gives you sometimes a longer time to pay it at a smaller chunk each year. Or if you do it with just keep rolling the short-term debt, it'll go up and down depending on what kind of debt you go out for each year.
But as we accumulate more and more debt, eventually we will have to pay that back.
Right.
Eventually that
One
will
way or the
affect-
other, you have to pay it
Yeah,
back.
we
It's
said
either
well,
converting to
you're always
long-term.
paying.
Excuse me, I think I have the floor, no?
They come off.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I understand you have to pay it back. I'm stating the obvious
Mhm.
for clarity's sake.
That's what I'm just saying, just so everybody understands. It's kind of your choice on how you pay it back as well. Short-term debt will continue to be almost like a peak and valley kind of thing, depending on when you originally went out for it, what new things you take on, where the long-term, if you take it and you convert it, it smooths it out. But there's also more expense to going out for a bond issue. So that's why you wouldn't necessarily go out for a bond issue each year. You're going to try and consolidate as much as of your debt as you can to make it more appealing to the people that are going to buy the debt, and also to cut down on your costs of issuing that debt.
So one follow-up question then. I'm not an expert in this, but right now the market for municipal bonds seems like it's deteriorating, isn't it?
I've spoken with our bond counsel. She seemed to think that the market's decent. She hasn't gotten anything that's been extraordinarily.
Over the next couple of years.
Well, it would depend. Again, if you go out for a long-term bond, we would do it in this year. The rates are fairly low currently.
Now.
Right. That's why if you went out, you'd be locked in at a lower rate.
Okay, John Brennan?
Yes, look, let me just correct what Ms. Zendaya said. Yes, we retired a bond between last year and this year, but no, our debt is not going down. If you look over the course of the last 5 to 10 years, our debt has gone up. And the debt that we acquired, we have not been paying principal to retire it. We've been paying largely interest only, and we've got a large, within our portfolio, we have these debts that have been incurred that have to be dealt with. We have additional capital needs that we're gonna have to deal with. And what I'm saying is that it's irresponsible for us today to say that we can just move forward from year to year, putting off the ultimate repayment of this debt. It's what governments throughout this country have been doing in running up debt, and the people are tired of it, and I think it's irresponsible. And quite frankly, to suggest that we should not have substantial debt repayment component in this budget is to play a gimmick with the people.
Okay, so
Mr. Dever, it's Rich's turn. No, it's Rich's turn.
I just wanted to say, I wouldn't try to predict the municipal bond market 2 years out from now. Right now, you have specific situations that have issues, but that mostly concerns states. Let me just finish. When you're on a local level, such as us, I'm sure our bond rating here is pretty good, and as is pretty much in the state of New Jersey. If you were in New York,